you lot have all turned up on this day. January the 30th, 1649. You're all looking forward to it? That's a yes! Of course you are. Everyone loves a good execution, I always say. But I'm sure that you're all well aware this is no ordinary execution. No. We're going to kill the king. We're going to kill your king. It's fun, isn't it? It's going to be great. It's going to be a great day. Yeah. But I'm sure that you're all probably wondering and you want to understand why these history-altering events are taking place today. I shall tell you. The upheavals of war have raised new demands amongst the people of England. And your king has not been entirely innocent. No, he has not. You see, he's tried to rule without Parliament for 11 years. 11 years? I mean, he's been raising taxes without its consent. I mean, someone was bound to get upset. I mean, Parliament represents the people of England. Charles would never submit to it for anything. You know, he would walk into the Houses of Commons and arrest those that openly opposed him. I mean, what kind of free kingdom is that? I mean, no doubt that civil war was inevitable. England wants a new constitution that puts an end to the privilege. Gives the people a greater say in how their country is run, because yes, it is our country. The people, not the king, are the real power in this land. I believe this, for I'm a leveller. These green ribbons mark our supporters. Those of us in the new model army are sons of yeomen, of tradesmen, of craftsmen, and never until now have we raised our voices in politics before. Our time in the army has taught us discipline as a body, as well as confidence and enlightenment as men. Free discussion of the scriptures has taught us to trust our own powers of reasoning. In fact, all in the army have benefited from this, not just the levellers, for we are both Christians and citizens. For levellers, such a revolutionary time deserves some revolutionary change. But Oliver Cromwell and those senior members of the army who have brought His Majesty here today saw fit to suppress our reforming agenda. You see, leveller ideas frighten both sides. They do. For we propose a government that's not been seen anywhere on this earth before, where every free-born Englishman has a right to vote. The King's execution comes at a time when these conversations are being circulated in public for the first time. Oh, wait. The man himself now calls. Let's go and see what he requires. Quietly, though. I'd never normally get an audience with His Majesty. But I think on a day such as today, it might warrant for some bending of the rules, so to speak, don't we think? You see, His Majesty's been taking his devotions. It's the only time he's allowed to be on his own. I can understand why. The last time he was on his own in prayer, he escaped from Hampton Court. Cheeky devil, isn't he? But I'm thinking he probably knows that there's no hope for that today. So, if any of you lot are Cavalier agents, you've got some Cavalier about you and yourself there, sir, I can tell. A little bit. You've got a Cavalier smirk is what you've got there, sir.
I've got a touch.
you might not have, but you could have showed this morning.
Well, I did.
Alright, okay. You can forget about it, any of you, unless you're willing to suffer the consequences. Alright? You've been warned. Even so, that man, let's all think about it, he is just a man. Is he cool and calculated on an infuriating level? Even as he stands on death's doorstep. Some of those who will him here today would even say he's the most perfidious and deceitful man that ever lived. I mean, judge for yourselves, but you will see how adverse he is to the idea of the people's government. I mean, just because we're supposed to be known as subjects under this king, it doesn't mean that we can be made to suffer for it. Sorry, I seem to have worked myself up into a bit of a state. Do you want to just follow me? See what our most auspicious prisoner requires. This way. Here's our prisoner. Yes, Your Majesty. You called?
Why do you bring these people here? Can I not have a moment's peace? You deny me my civil comforts and my personal attendance, and now continue to make a mockery of me.
These people have come here today to Whitehall to catch a glimpse of Your Majesty, to witness history.
To gape and to gawk, no doubt. This is an outrage.
No, Your Majesty. You have but little time left on this earth. I doubt you wish to spend it ushering away some commoners. No offence to any of you. These are your people, nevertheless. And we have come to see what it is you require.
What I require are my personal chaplains. For only such devout and pious men can help me find spiritual comfort when you make it so difficult to find.
I'm afraid I'm unable to grant your request. The ministers we provide here are good enough. You shall not have any comfort, spiritually or physically, for the crimes that you committed against this country.
I understand your motives. You're afraid that I shall find spiritual peace.
Indeed I am not. You're a prisoner. You can't make demands. In fact, it is no longer appropriate for you to wear such fine materials. Such a coat and middle are too fine. I must ask you to remove them.
So be it. Please.
Thank you, Your Majesty. He looks trustworthy. I spy you, madam. You look trustworthy. Can you hold on to these for His Majesty? I'll let him. You haven't got long to hold on to them. Everything better be there at the end. All right, I've got my eye on you.
I shall require another white shirt for the scaffold. None must mistake any shivers from the cold as a sign that I'm afraid to die. I am not. This is the unhappiest of days for England. Let my people bear witness, as I am treated like a common prisoner. Follow it round. He does this a lot, don't worry. In my father's time, this undercroft was a happy place, decorated throughout with shells and a fountain. It was exclusive and meant for joyous revelry. That's no longer so. Now death hangs in the air. This haunt of kings has been marred by treasonous acts.
Treasons? You're the only one guilty of that, sir.
I am your lawful king! Today, your rogue parliament commits a great crime. One that betrays the ancient law of the kingdom and the law of God. Why did they not simply have someone stab me in secret behind the prison walls? Why this public farce? Their souls would no sooner have any chance of redemption. By this public trial and execution, well, you make a martyr of me and give my people a chance to grieve.
Sir, your opponents are men of high courage and high principle. They would hate any kind of secret murder. They dare to try and execute you openly and publicly, for they believe that God is on their side as well. God does not only serve kings. And good people, this man ceased to be your king the moment he broke the bond between him and his people. You're supposed to protect your people, and we, in return, will follow you as subjects. Sir, if this bond is broken, farewell sovereignty. And this civil war that you've instigated is certainly a breaking of this bond. After your trial, 3 weeks ago in Westminster Hall, this whole country had a chance to judge whether you've been the protector of England or the destroyer of England. Those in power have decided the outcome of this.
And from where did they get this power? No, sir. The law has been abused by the mere fact your Parliament dared to put their king on trial. There is no precedent for this. History was on my side.
You are eloquent, Your Majesty. But do not try and cast yourself as the victim. For you, the law means endless tyranny. You look like an educated fellow. No doubt you followed His Majesty's reports on the trial, and how unwilling he's been for compromise. I'm sure that all of you will agree that this was the only option in the end. That no peace made with this king would ever prove permanent or safe.
De jure divino.
Speak in English, sir.
My authority is committed to me by divine right, and from old and lawful authority, and I will not betray this to answer to some new unlawful authority. Show me legal authority from the word of God, or from the constitution of the kingdoms.
But that's just it, Majesty. We Liberals want a new constitution. We feel that the monarchy should recognise that the lawful authority stems from the people. Our voices, the vox populi, should be heard in these so-called constitutions of the kingdoms, because that is where they rightfully belong. Look at the carnage and the chaos that this civil war has done to this country. This country requires a change. Its people require a change. When Your Majesty breaks the law, we're here to remind you of this. The demands of the Levellers only seek to bring England into the modern age.
Demands? What right have you to demand anything?
We have every right. For we feel that the people should have a greater say in their own government. Why do you not recognise our lawful right, our right to be heard? Not just as subjects, but as men. One of the great Liberal leaders, Thomas Rainsborough, once said in public, "For really I think that the greatest, the poorest here is in England, hath a life to live as the greatest. Therefore truly, sir, I think it is clear that every man that hath lived under a government ought first to consent to be put under a government." Yeah, stirring. A new constitution and a more widely shared government will help make this possible. Come on, give us a cheer if you agree. Yes, exactly. These people agree with me in this matter, although most of them are afraid to do so in your presence, sir. Come on, you don't have to be afraid of them anymore.
You have no right to say such things. You speak radically, sir.
These are radical times. Your Majesty today goes to the scaffold. Kings have been deposed and murdered. But never in history has a king been tried and executed by his own people.
Oliver Cromwell, this rump of a parliament, do not speak for the entire kingdom. Indeed, when I am gone, a King Oliver will replace me, and all of your efforts to try and speak will be for nothing.
I cannot deny it has been a struggle for power, even amongst those who call it justice here today. But in times of war, the victor must emerge. And it seems that Cromwell and his supporters have had the last word this day. We in the army used to have their support. But even now, he would not dare imagine a society where ordinary men have a say in government.
That's hardly surprising. Even those who sentence me can now not decide amongst themselves how the country should be run.
God will know our efforts. I do not think that levellers have failed. Just simply that society is not ready for the momentous changes we propose. We have started an important conversation. Even you cannot now ignore.
Indeed I can. Do you think you're being revolutionary? Revolutionary is my physician, William Harvey, discovering that blood circulates rather than needing to be ingested like fuel. You, sir, are a mere radical. Do you really believe that upsetting a centuries-old balance of power would work in your favour? You, sir, and your so-called levellers are mistaken if you think that introducing democracy into government will benefit this country. Nothing but anarchy will ever come from increased manhood suffrage, changing the frame of government, altering the administration of law.
Indeed. Unless society is willing to embrace change, we may forever have tyrants on the throne. As long as those in power refuse to reform government. You will see, sir, constitutions around the world will one day contain level principles. Maybe even one day subjects will seek independence from their king. Hey? Those colonies in America look quite promising. Anyway, I feel that the change of scenery is in order. Yeah, the air has become stifled with all of this debate. Maybe we should continue to the main hall so His Majesty can get some exercise and we can have a more open space to continue this discussion. Come. Let His Majesty come first and we'll follow. This way. Where's my trustworthy person? There's a little table there. If you want to put His Majesty's stuff on there, someone will look after it. Well done for not stealing it or doing a run at that. Yeah, just there, will do. Thank you. Now always remain 3 paces behind. Give the prisoner some space. Ascend to the main hall, Your Majesty. We'll follow, but make haste. You may not know it, but behind this wall, His Majesty will step out through a window onto the scaffold. Yeah. That's where the axeman will await. We've covered it up very well, if I might add, from prying eyes.
You will see those in power after I'm gone will have no problem pretending my execution never happened. See how they cover the spot even now. All that shall be left is my smiling likeness.
And well, the window frame will be removed, especially for the occasion, as well as a massive wall, of course. We're expecting large crowds, so it's good that you lot have arrived early. As His Majesty says, he's no ordinary prisoner, and this is no ordinary execution.
Neither you, sir, nor the sound of the scaffold's construction will intimidate.
Oh, I know, Your Majesty. Please continue through. Sorry about that. Come on. If you guys want to take a seat, either this side. Your Majesty,
What irony it is indeed that before my death I should stand in such a divine display of kingship. I commissioned Rubens to paint the ceiling in memory of my father, James I, in 1636. This is what monarchy is. Godly anointed. For the monarchy is the supremest thing upon this earth. We kings are God's lieutenants. And such a tradition is dishonoured and trampled upon today as if it were mere soil beneath your feet.
Well, enjoy that sight. For later, all these windows will be boarded up, and the ceiling will hardly be visible. What, for defence?
And for your own protection. My execution is taking place in the Banqueting House because it is easily fortified. Those in charge feared that a more public execution up on Tower Hill would attract a mob of my supporters and they would see me executed like the martyr I am. I am happy to face death rather than allow myself to give in to the sacred abuse of the authority of the sovereign. The sovereign's authority is sacred. I wish only to pass on to my children what I received from God, to pass on to my son and all my children. I pray for my family.
You've had enough time for prayer.
I pray that they shall be kept safe from harm. Surely there are those amongst my subjects who understand the pain of separating children from their father. And not just my children. The entire kingdom loses a father today.
You are brave, Your Majesty. Do not try and soften the feelings of these good people. Think only of those who, in this brutal civil war, that have lost family members. Mothers, their sons, children, their fathers. All of this could have been prevented if you'd not abused your position as king. You say that you are the father of England. But even we do not endure fathers that are tyrannical. If a father kills his son, he pays for it with his life. Should not a king be subject to the same law if he destroys his people that are his sons? No one is above the law.
I shall listen to you no more. When they have destroyed me, for now I know how far God has permitted my enemy's cruelty to proceed. I beseech God not to pour out his wrath upon my people, who have deserted me or engaged against me through the hypocrisy of their leaders. I studied only to preserve the power of the law, the honour of my crown, the privilege of Parliament, and the freedom of my people and my conscience, which is worth more to me than 1,000 kingdoms.
Now that you've said your piece, let us prepare Charles Stuart, man of blood, to account for the blood he has shed and the mischief he has done against the Lord's cause and the people of this poor nation. remain here while I take the king to be bed. The king will be executed here after he is prepared. Bid farewell to his daughter Elizabeth and the 8-year-old Duke of Gloucester. He will receive his last rites from the Bishop of London, William Juxon. You see, we are not totally without our scruples. We're doing all we can to respect His Majesty's wishes on this, his last day on earth. You've been some of the lucky few who have seen His Majesty before his death. And I hope you all now understand why this absolute monarchy business cannot go on any longer. And why this country needs a change. This execution is a radical act, to be sure. And I'm sure this country will feel its repercussions for centuries to come. But if this is a war against tyranny, then I would like to see the results. The people are the real power in this realm. Don't you forget it. Farewell.
The reenactment was very well done. The actors were very good. It was, I don't know, it was quite an eye-opener to learn some new stuff about it.